Hello there, I'm back, Colleen Bennett, for another episode of Them and Us. Now, as you all know, we're in this unprecedented season. Nobody don't know what's going to happen. Nobody don't know where we're going with all of this. No one don't know about no second wave, although it's been predicted. We don't know what it's going to look like. One thing that we do know is that they call it a pandemic. Well, I called it a pandemic of fear. And let me tell you why. Because at the beginning in March, when it all started to evolve, so much fear was put into us and instilled into our brains and in our minds, especially through social media, the television, the TV, radio, everything. And there was a lot of conspiracy theories flying around that we didn't know what to believe, we didn't know what to take on board, and we didn't know what to do with the information that we were getting. It was all conflicting, of course. And then they started talking about 5G towers and all sorts of nonsense. Although it wasn't nonsense, though. We'll leave that one for another time. But one thing I do know is that many people became very, very fearful. And let me explain to you that I can understand why. We will be covering mental health at some point, but because I want to do it in a fuller version, we'll just touch on it. We're not even going to go into it today. But I know that a number of people I know completely lost their mind. There was a program on the TV called COVID Short Stories, and it was only 15 minutes a night for 3 nights straight on ITV. And I'll tell you what, I thought it was absolutely hilarious because it summed up brilliantly what some people were going through. I want to share an experience that I had with you that was very, very scary for me. Yeah, so I explained to you how I went to hospital, and I explained to you how my operation got cancelled. And I remember I had said that the man upstairs, the big man, yeah, he knows exactly what's going on, and he knows why things happen, and he knows why the operation was cancelled, yeah? At the time, I didn't know why, though, did I? But I was happy because I thought that it was an answer to prayer. And it was. I very much believe it was an answer to prayer because I had loads of people praying for me. Anyway, moving swiftly forward. One thing I want to bring to your attention is my sister had come to the hospital with me to support me, and they wouldn't let her in. So she had to stay downstairs in reception. And she waited down there, and then she went and waited in the car. So by the time we got to her, she was in the car, and 20 minutes after we took off, it wasn't long after we took her from the hospital, something really weird happened. So her nose just started streaming and wouldn't stop. And I said, what happened to you? You got hay fever or what? She said, I don't know what this is. I was fine before those 3 nurses came and spoke to me. I said, what 3 nurses? She said, Colleen, I can't even tell you where they came from. They just came up. 3 of them came from nowhere, and one of them stopped in front of me, came down to me, like this, yeah, and said, are you all right? And she backed up. She said she backed up, and she said, yeah, I'm fine. Why? She said, do you want a cup of tea? She said, no, I don't want a cup of tea. I'm fine, thank you. And she said, are you sure you're all right? And she said, yes, I'm fine, thank you. And so she thought that was all really weird and peculiar. So when they left, she left too. She went outside, she said she walked up and down the grounds, and then she just had this foreboding, and she said, Colleen, you know that I pray when I need to pray, and believe you me, I prayed. And then I went to the car and waited for you. So I said, oh, she said, I was fine before that. So I said, okay, fine, let's get you home, see what we can do with you. So we got her home and gave her some paracetamols and cold and flu medication, and it wouldn't work, nothing worked. And then we gave her some antihistamine, and nothing worked. And 3 hours later, she was still streaming like weird. So she went to her bed early. That was about 8 o'clock. She went to her bed. Then we went to bed a bit later, about 10 o'clock, I don't know. And then at 3 o'clock in the morning, something extraordinary happened. So we wake up. Well, I didn't wake up. My husband woke me up and said he didn't feel good. And I thought, oh, what's the matter? He said, I don't feel right. And he was stumbling to get to the bathroom. And I said, you're walking like a robot. He says, yeah, I don't feel right. And then his voice wasn't right either. He sounded like a robot. He was walking like a robot, and he looked like a robot, and he sounded like a robot. And I thought, oh, what's going on here then? Anyway, I thought, okay, have a lie down, go back to bed, and let's see what happens. And all. When he went back to bed, he was very agitated and said, no, something's not right. Something's done. I thought, yeah, you're right. Something ain't right. You're getting worse by the second. So I got him up, but he was not right. So I called an ambulance. The ambulance came very quickly. They were here within 10 minutes, and I thought, here we go. Hopefully they'll just check him out, and then they'll go and leave us alone and say what and what. So they came, they checked him out, and they asked him if he had been diagnosed as a diabetic, and he said no. And then they said, you need to get yourself to your doctor as soon as you can. And then they said that his blood pressure was too low. I thought, well, that's weird. He ain't never had low blood pressure. It's always high, really high, but it's never been low. So 2-2s now. I thought, well, what they're going to do now, give him an injection or something, go away, all of you. But they didn't. They said, given that you feel that you're having a stroke, which is what he said he felt like, we need to get you to the hospital and get you checked out and see what's going on. And I thought, oh dear, we don't want to do that. Anyway, they did. They started taking him. I said, hold on a minute. I said, I was going to get my bag and my keys. I'll follow you in the ambulance. And the paramedic lady said to me, oh no, you can't come. I said, excuse me? She said, you can't come to the hospital. So I said, what do you mean I can't come to the hospital? She said, we all got locked down this evening. I said, yes, I know we all got locked down this evening, but that's my husband. You're taking him to the hospital. I need to be there. She said, oh no, you are not going to be allowed to come to the hospital, my lovely. Nobody's allowed to come to the hospital. We have several cases of COVID patients there, and nobody is allowed in the hospital other than the patients. I'm afraid you won't be able to come with him. And I looked at her and said, we go everywhere together. And if you're taking him to a hospital, I need to be there to see what's going on. She said, I'm sorry, but we can't allow you to come to the hospital because we're not allowing anybody in the hospitals, not even to visit their relatives right now. We're all on lockdown. I said, yeah, I get that. 2-2s now. She left, and I thought to myself, Now, let me tell you something about me, right? You can touch me, do what you want with me, say what you want about me, because I'm big and ugly enough to be able to take care of myself, and I get that. I know that. I don't care. I'll deal with you how I need to deal with you, yeah? But there's a bit of me, the other Carleen, I call her, the other Carleen that can't get saved, you know? She is the one that you just don't mess with. And when you touch her family, any member of her family, she wakes up. And she becomes rile. You rile her. You will rile her. Don't touch her family. Touch anything else, but don't touch her family, yeah? So, I then got a phone call from my husband saying, I'm not sure where they've taken me. I think that we're going to the local hospital, but I don't know this route. So I said, okay, it better be the local one because I don't know no other hospital around here. So it better be the local one or else I'm going to be completely screwed. He then rings me and says, yeah, we've got to the hospital. I said, okay. He said, but guess what? So I said, what? He said, everything's different. Everything's been changed. The A&E's been changed. It's not the same anymore. Something's been they've just moved everything and everybody. And he said, and there's a couple of security guards on the door and it just feels weird. And he said, I actually feel like I'm in that movie Bird Box. So I said, Bird Box? So he said, yeah, we watched that a couple of days before. So I said, okay, all right then. Put the phone down, I rang him straight back. Something just stood up inside of me and a voice in my head said, you need to go and rescue your husband. Not, you need to go and get your husband. Not, you need to go and save your husband. You need to go and rescue your husband. And I was like, oh, I need to go and rescue my husband. So I grabbed my bag and I ran downstairs and I woke my sister up and I said to her, Dawn, I can't explain it to you now. Something's happened. Errol's not well. The ambulance has taken him out. I need to go and rescue him. If you know, she said, oh, I'm coming with you, I'm coming with you, I'm coming with you. I said, no, you're not. You're not coming. The message wasn't for you. I need to go and rescue my husband. If everybody wakes up tomorrow and we're all missing, no one's going to know where we are. You need to stay here, and if anything happens, you know where I am. That's why I'm letting you know. I'm not... No, she's another one, you see. Very interesting girl, that one. Because anyhow she'd come with me, it would have been a whole different ball game. She don't take no for an answer, mate. And she does what she needs to do to get what results she needs to get. And if she had to run up in that play, it would have been a whole different ball game. Anyhow, I said no. And I did. I took my time and drove there. And I was quite surprised because it was almost as if overnight they had created these roundabouts. So I was actually navigating my way to the hospital around these roundabouts that weren't there before. And I thought, I hope I'm going the right way because it's dark. I can't see at the best of times. I can't remember. I couldn't even find my black driving glasses. I couldn't find my nighttime vision glasses. So I was there just navigating through these weird roads that I don't remember them being like that before. I did get there. So I got to the hospital and I got out there now. 2 cars in the car park. Listen, me and one other car, right? So I thought, well, I don't know what he's up to because he's got a mask on. And why is someone sitting in their car with a mask on? Not sure. So I parked a couple of bays down, giving me and this dude some space, you know, in case he was part of the show, part of the film, you know. Anyway, I rang my husband and I said to him, I'm outside. Now remember, I was supposed to have had an operation that day. So guess what? If I'd taken the operation, I would have still been under the anaesthetic. And I would not have been able to be getting up and driving nowhere. That's why I say, that man upstairs, he always has my back, yeah? He knew what was going to happen. And I needed to be available, yeah? I needed to be available to do what I needed to do. So I then rang my husband. I said, listen, I'm outside. I need you to come outside and meet me in the car park. You got 5 minutes. He says to me, there's security guys on the door. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get past them. So I said, you better find a way past them because you got 5 minutes. And if you're not out here in 5 minutes, I'm going to have to come in and get you. And guess what? It's going to be a wrap. 5 minutes. I sat down there, my heart was pounding, absolutely pounding. I kept looking at the man with the mask, you know. Why is that man sitting over there in a mask? Is he going to come and stop him from coming in the car? Is he part of the security crew? What's he doing in the car park by himself with a mask? There ain't no other cars in here. 4 minutes later, my husband rings me. He says, I'm outside, I can't see the car, where's the car? I said, it's in the car park, find the car park, you got to find the car. He said, I'm in the car park. I said, I'm in the car park, there's only 2 of us in the car park. How many cars can you see? Give me some light, give me some light. So I turned on the light, and then I see him running, coming, open the door, and he jumped in. And I'm thinking, please don't let them barriers keep me hostage because I will just drive straight through them. Went to the barriers didn't give me no problems at all. They opened and I left, and he's saying to me, Carly, they're coming to get me, they're going to come and get me, they're going to come and get me. And I'm like, you need to stop, you need to just stop now. They're not going to come and get you, nobody's coming to get you. I'm taking you home and nobody ain't going to come to get you because they're going to have to come through me first. Stop, just stop. I said, I don't know where I am, just get me home. I said, I don't understand where these roundabouts have come from. Where am I going round this roundabout? And he did, he directed me home, so I knew there ain't nothing wrong with him. Because he got me home. And when we got home, my sister was still up, of course. But he was saying, oh my God, they're going to get me. And they put his tab on to identify him and everything. But then they'd also told him that he was now the property of the NHS. And that's why he was so convinced they were going to come back and get him, because what they said to him. I thought, no dread, not on my watch. Not we're in here with Fanny Annie here, my sister. No one ain't come to get nobody. Yeah? So anyway, she was still streaming. She said, Colin, whatever this is, I picked it up at that hospital I was at when I was with you today. I said, is it? She said, yeah. I said, all right, don't worry. So we same time cut up some lemons and oranges and garlic and sea salt and onions, and we boiled them as per one of the instructions that we'd got from people sending out all those social media, how to stop the infection from getting into your chest plate and your lungs. Yeah, so we did that, and my husband, he inhaled it, and she inhaled hers for about 40 minutes. They had to inhale this concoction, and truly, when she had finished, it stopped. Whatever it was just stopped. No more was she streaming, no more was our eyes running water, and she was fine. But that was quite an experience for us, and I realised that when I spoke to different people who had gone through very similar experiences months down the line, a few months, over the following month, it was quite interesting that it was the men that were suffering. And it was quite interesting that a lot of them were sent home with anxiety. And I realised that this thing, if you don't watch it, it's going to take your mind. If we don't get a handle on it, it was going to take our mind. And really and truly, I'll go into some other details later, but, several people I know have either ended up in hospital or sectioned. And I'm not saying that's what happened to my husband, because his was quite different, but it brought to the surface that we needed to deal with his sugar. His blood pressure fixed itself. But it was a good experience, because then we were able to deal with that. But I call it the pandemic of fear. Well, what can I say? It was an experience. And then after that, it was that night that made me realise that we were all in trouble. And if anybody ended up in hospital, they weren't joking. You weren't allowed to go and see them. The government sent my mother a letter. Remember? Yeah, look after her. The government sent my mum a letter, yeah? Saying, we have identified you. We identified you as a person with health issues. Do not leave your house. Stay at home. If you end up in hospital, you will not be given any resuscitation. We are going to put do not resuscitate on your notes. You will not be given any oxygen, because we don't have any oxygen to give anybody right now. So you need to stay at home. That night, I realised that they weren't joking. They ain't going to give you no oxygen. You need to stay at home. Stay at home. That was the nightly ritual, wasn't it? Yeah. So I just thank God for all those people I know who did get it and survive. All those who did come through, all those who are still fighting, we're praying for them so much, because we know that they'll be all right. And just be there to support people, and just make sure that if you haven't heard or seen someone for a while, you need to call them. You need to call them, young and old, it don't matter. It hasn't this mental thing don't have no respect of a person. It doesn't respect your age or anything, yeah? And if you can't get a hold of them, don't just ignore the fact that you haven't been able to get a hold of them. You need to go around there, or find somebody that's related to them that can go around there and check on them. Peace out. Speak to you soon.
Hello again. You heard earlier about the saga that my sister experienced when she went into hospital to get her fibroids out, which obviously didn't happen. But it's amazing how you can walk into a building, perfectly fine, and to actually come out feeling a bit, I use that word again, discombobulated, not quite right, not quite sure. And don't forget, we're in this as they call it, pandemic situation. I've gone there to support her and wasn't allowed in for once. That's a bit strange. You're so used to going in, supporting somebody, and watching the goings on inside a hospital. Do you know what I mean? You hear what the doctors have to say, the consultants, etc. But when you're left out of the loop, you think, this is not normal. This is really strange, and it doesn't sit well with you. And especially when people are going through their own difficult mindset, especially, not being able to mix with your family, your friends, go out and socialize. This has become I hate this word, I'm going to use, the new norm, and it shouldn't be. Because as human beings, we all need support and contact. And without that, we lose ourselves yet again. We lean on each other for support, moral support, physical support, mental support. And when you don't have that, you kind of realize that you're on your own, and that's not really a nice feeling. So there I am, going to support my sister, not being able to go upstairs, and me having my own experience. Even just sitting in the waiting room was bad enough. She explained, the nurse comes and asks me if I was all right, would I like a cup of tea, and I'm thinking, I've already got a coffee in my hand. What is it do you really want? You start getting all these things in your head, like, what is it do you really want? And then, a voice in my head saying, you need to leave this place. Just leave. You're not supporting your sister, for one, because she's upstairs and you're down here. And something's very unsettling. I'm sitting down there, very unsettled, and a voice says to me again, leave this place. And I'm thinking, leave? And I'm waiting for my sister. Don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm there. And then all of a sudden, you are compelled to get up. So I've got up and I've gone round to the reception area and I've sat down for a few minutes thinking, I don't really want to leave the building. So I'm sitting down there and still haunted by that feeling. Just leave. So I've got up and I thought, okay. And I've left the building and I've just gone for a walk. And I'm only walking around the premises because there's nowhere to go. Wherever the hospital is, in the middle of nowhere. Just motorways and bypasses. So I don't want to get lost. So I'm just clearing my head thinking, why am I feeling this way? Feeling awkward and dishevelled. Considering that I walked in there perfectly fine, apart from being really tired. Because, if someone's going to have an operation the night before and you really care for them, you're worried, so you don't really sleep very well. So there I've managed to, start walking around the car park, going down some lanes, and then double back at myself. And then I've got into the vehicle and I've just sat down and lied my head down and gone to sleep, and probably within an hour, she's come out saying that she's not having the operation again for whatever reason, and we've come home. But all this feeling is staying with me, this awful feeling. And as she explained to you earlier, that we're sitting down around the dinner table, not actually having dinner, just sitting around there talking, and then things started streaming, my nose, my eyes streamed. It's like, oh my God, what is this? You're thinking, no, sir, something's wrong. My body tells me that there's something wrong instantly. I mean, instantly, when it's uncomfortable. And then I realised, I've actually picked something up. So you have to be careful when you walk into places, what actually comes out with you. And then I felt so awful that, I needed to go and sleep. And I don't sleep. I'm not really a sleeper as such. People may say different, but I'm a nighter. I'm a night owl. So I stay up relatively the majority of the night. So that's when I'm at my best, funny enough. Early's is not for me, but I had to actually go to bed really early, 8 o'clock, and still feeling uncomfortable. And then my sister had an epiphany. She got all these concoctions together, the lemons, the ginger, the garlic, the onions, the oranges, peel them, boil them, and started steaming. I'd obviously picked up something from the hospital that I'd gone to, and it took probably a couple of hours by the time I've got back into my normal environment for it to kick in. And boy, when your body reacts to things it doesn't like, it's not pretty, because you're thinking, I was fine, there was nothing wrong with me, and then panic sets in. It's like, what is this? Do I have it? This is something unnatural for me. Your nose start running, your eyes start, it just doesn't. And for me, it's a sign that something's wrong. And instantly my mind went straight back to the hospital. You've picked up something, hence why the voice in your head was saying leave. For whatever happened in that place, I came out with something that if I hadn't dealt with it, instantly I could have left it and thought, it was just what it is. No, I took action. I decided to pull myself together. I thought, no, I know something's wrong. And I steamed for a good probably 40 to 45 minutes and felt so much better after that. Literally, my body was saying it's got something inside. And I'm not saying it is virus or otherwise, but it needed to come out. Body didn't like whatever it was. And then you realise how, because you can't see something, doesn't mean it's not there. And, it's like your sixth sense will kick in and say, you need to listen to your sixth sense, to be quite honest, because that will help you along the way. How many times have you listened to a voice in your head and you've ignored it, and then you wished you had listened to it? Well, I've learned getting older, this is another thing, that you need to listen to your voices. They are key to your survival in your everyday walk of life. For all you know, if I'd stayed there and ignored it, I would have come down with something more severe. But I managed in the end to literally, steam, take action and get it sorted ASAP. Because I might not have been here talking to you today, but it just felt like, something just wasn't right. Considering that you've walked into a building, supposedly supposed to be sterile enough, that you've literally walked out with something and it's stuck on you. You know what I mean? Before you know it, it's affected you alone. Nobody knows what your pain is, like how you're feeling, because it's you that's feeling it. But came out of that one all right. Just to know there was another drama to come. The same sort of night when her husband was brought into, the ambulance had to come for him because he was just not himself. And it goes to show that these things affect you in different, whatever they may be, affects you in different ways. And it's for you to firm up and deal with it accordingly, because you never know, if you'd left it, things could have been also different. Thank God we're all still together. But it's the little things that we dismiss in life that we really need to adhere in life to get us through whatever it is we're going through. And going through, everybody's going through this pandemic, this lockdown, this shutdown, whatever you want to call it. It's not the normal. We're not used to it. We're used to touching people, hugging people, meeting with people. All of a sudden now you've got to learn to love yourself. Literally love yourself. Do you know what I mean? Love yourself enough to be in your own space. And sometimes that's not easy for a lot of people. And you don't realise how much you need people to keep yourself motivated and get going. I did hear her say earlier that, reach out to people, just ring them, just make sure they're okay, because just a little bit of kindness, it really goes a long way. Caring goes a long way. Anyway, I will come back to you shortly, but I just wanted to share with you my experience of how you can ignore something when your body's trying to tell you something, there's something wrong, and how you instantly deal with it. I've learned not to dismiss anything anymore. I take it on board. If my mind tells me to do something, I'm doing it. It may be strange to some people, but I know myself in order to know that I've got to do something about it, or it's going to do something to me. Anyway, leaving you with that note, I'll speak to you shortly.